Boys and girls, today we are going to make this amazing owl project. We're going to start by creating a weaving. In order to make a weaving, you must have a loom. For that, we're going to follow along with me. So take your piece of paper, start at the bottom and bring it up to the top. Hold it really still with one hand while you smooth out the bump at the bottom. Perfect. Now the top of your paper should have an opening. Open it. There should be a little piece of paper hiding underneath. If there's not a little piece of paper hiding underneath, then you need to rotate your paper. If you have that little piece of paper hiding underneath, peel back just a little bit of the first paper and smooth it down. Once you've got that complete, this line that you've just created is called a crease. I want you to take your finger and I want you to go back and forth over the crease and repeat after me. This is the stop line. When your scissors are a-cutting, they will stop at this line. They will not go past it, and they will not stop before it. We are going to begin at the bottom middle of your piece of paper. So with your scissors, you need to find the bottom middle of your piece of paper. The bottom middle is here. The bottom middle is going to not be there. That's the side middle. Wrong. Nope, that's the top middle. I said bottom middle. That's the bottom side. Bingo. I'm going to start cutting at the bottom middle, and I'm going to stop cutting when I get to the stop line. Now you know why it's called the stop line. So I'm not going to stop there. Not going to stop there, and bingo, there you go. Whoa, that's too far. Make sure you stop at the stop line. Now you've created a lovely pair of pants. You almost cut your paper in half. Now you're going to take one of those pant legs, we'll call them, and you're going to find the bottom middle. Right there. There, no, you were there before. Bottom middle. And I know that I'm going to start cutting there, and I will stop when I get to, you got it, the stop line. Not before, and don't go beyond. When one side is complete, I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. My loom for weaving is exactly the same on both sides. We call that symmetrical. Hey, look at that. I have a pair of pants for my cat. She has 4 legs. Now what I need to do is to make 8 equal parts. So for that, I will be cutting in the bottom middle of each one of those 4. That will give me 8. I need to go slowly and carefully and make sure to go all the way to my stop line. Making sure to go slowly and carefully will mean that I will have a perfect loom for weaving. When you're finished cutting your loom, you're going to open your loom and you're going to notice that all those parts that you cut, those are what we call the warp of the loom, what you'll be weaving over and under. Let me show you. Open your loom slowly so you don't tear your paper, and those openings, that's your warp. We're going to be weaving with pieces of paper that we will call wefts. A lot of W's in weaving. When you are weaving, you want to create a pattern. Here's how the pattern goes. Under, over, under, over. If you guess that, it is an A-B pattern. You are correct. Double check. Make sure you didn't skip any, and then scoot your weft paper to the bottom of your loom. Bingo. Now here's where it gets a little bit tricky. When you get your next color of weft paper, you don't want it to do the same thing. You want it to do the opposite. So if that one is under, the opposite of under is over. So that's why I started this new piece of paper by doing something different. I went the opposite. This will make it so my weaving has a checkerboard look. It'll also make it so the papers are stacked one on top of the other. Perfect. Now, when I get my next paper, can you guess what I'm going to do? If that little maroon or magenta paper is over, the opposite of over is, not that. That causes it to slide down. The opposite is under, then over. Make sure you use both of your hands to really lift up those cut pieces of paper. That will help your weaving go over and under a lot easier. How do you know when your weaving is finished? Let me show you. I'm going to weave lightning fast. You'll know your weaving is finished when you've not only reached the top of your loom with all of your woven wefts, but you will also have a checkerboard look to your weaving, meaning that all of your pieces of paper are doing the opposite. That last little piece of paper can be a little tricky. It's a little bit of a tight squeeze, but you can do it. All right, let's move on to something new. Let's use oil pastels and listen to some music and sounds and draw how they make us feel. That was fun. Now let's add a little bit of color with watercolor paint. When you're using watercolor paint, remember to wake up the paint by adding water. I'm only going to give you a couple of rules when you're painting with your watercolor paint. Rule number 1, please make sure that you clean your brush in the water before you switch to another color. Rule number 2, place your colors when painting side by side. That way we can see the beauty of the colors. Don't stack or mix all of your colors together. Then the colors get lost and we can't see how beautiful they are. We're going to fill this paper with all the colors that we feel inspired by listening to some more sounds. Now let's draw our owls. Using a small piece of paper, I'm going to use a black oil pastel and just put a little small dot right in the middle. From that dot, I'm going to make a big curve like a rainbow from one side of my paper to the other. If I'm going too fast for you, just press pause. I've made 2 vertical lines that went down to the bottom of my paper and a horizontal line to connect them. Now for the owl's eyes, I'm going to make a nice big circle with 2 smaller circles inside. That will be the pupil of my owl. The white part, that's the reflection of the light in its eye. I'm going to make an even bigger circle that goes around their eye. My owl is symmetrical, just like my loom, so I'm doing the same thing on both sides, coloring it in nice and neat. Did you know that an owl cannot actually move its eyes when it's looking? It has to rotate its entire head. I'm now working on the beak, a horizontal line, and a V. All right, now I'm going to add color, baby, color with my oil pastels. I'm picking some warm colors for the eyes and maybe some cold colors for the background. You can decide what colors you want to use. I'm coloring so slowly and so carefully to color around my eyes with those 2 warm colors. If you can't remember what the warm colors are, just think of the colors of something hot, like fire. Or think of the first 3 colors in the rainbow. The Roy, red, orange, yellow. I'm using orange and yellow for my eyes. And then I'm going to use cold colors for the background or the part around the head. Like I said, an owl cannot actually move its eyes. Try to think about that for a moment. How if you wanted to look at something, you would have to just rotate your head. They can turn their head almost entirely all the way around, but not quite. So in order to look at something, they simply have to move their head. All right, I'm coloring so slowly and so carefully. I cannot wait to see what colors you choose to use for your owl. Now that we have our weaving made and our owl head made, let's put everything all together. I'm cutting a big arch like a rainbow on one end of my loom for the bottom of my owl. I'm going to slowly and carefully cut out my owl's head. When both things are cut, I'm going to add glue around the edges and I'm going to glue it in the middle of my paper. When that's complete, I'm going to then add 2 lines for where I want the feathers to go for the owl's wings. Did you know that when an owl flies, you cannot hear its wings flapping? They have special feathers that make it so when they fly, you can't hear them. The reason is so they can sneak up on their prey. I'm tearing my masterpiece. Can you believe it? But don't you worry. I'm transforming it into the feathers for my owl. Now I'm going to glue my feathers down, but I'm only adding a little bit of glue to the top. I really want those silent feathers to stand out. I'm creating 1 row of feathers all along that line that I drew, and then I'm going to create another row of feathers just above that. I will be doing the same thing on both sides. What's the word I keep saying? Yeah, symmetrical, so that my owl will look a little bit symmetrical. Owls have a very distinct triangular shape of feathers at the top of their head. I'm just using some of my scraps to cut a triangle out and glue those down. Did you know that owls are nocturnal? That means they only come out at night. They're predators, which means that they hunt prey. Things that are small, like mice and small rabbits, that's what is their prey. And remember, they can't hear them because they have the silent feathers. I'm so excited to see your woven, painted, collaged owls complete. I know they will be a beautiful masterpiece, just like the artist that made them. That's right. I'm talking about you. Let's get started, guys.